Top of the morning, top of the morning, top of the morning, top of the morning. What the hell was Kendrick talking about, man? That shit. Man, peace to the family. Let me see what this is looking like on my side. Give me 1 second. Top of the morning, top of the morning, top of the morning. Looking good, looking good. So, Grand Rising, good morning. Um, to all the strippers and the third shift workers, good evening. How's everybody doing? This morning I'm doing something different. I'm not drinking tea. I'm not drinking coffee. I'm drinking water, some ginger, some lemon, a little bit of Salt Bay version of some cayenne pepper. See how that do me. You know what I'm saying? Because it ain't really like I need anything to start my day. Because I generally just wake up and be with the shit as soon as I wake up. But yeah. So we are going to get in the minutia, the nitty gritty, the nuts and bolts into how to become like God, according to Michael Berg, who is, from what I've understood, taking the Kabbalah and making it a book that you could just simply understand the Kabbalah like in regular English. So we'll just do a grand build up, big crescendo, turning point, then we'll come back home and then we'll go back to our normal life with the understanding of I know how to become like God. What comes with that? Eternal life, immortality, greatness, prosperity, love, manifestation, magnetism, protection, all of that fly shit is essentially what becoming like God is. So when you think about becoming like God, it is becoming like your joy. So it like people can get thrown off by God. People can get thrown off by ego because we've all heard it. We all think we have an understanding. So whenever I say God, whenever I say Goddess, whenever I say your inner being, whenever I say the God within, I'm talking about your personal joy and becoming like your personal joy, your personal goodness. There is something within you that wants to give you everything that you want. I'm going to say that again. There is something within you that wants to give you everything that you want. So when you wake up and you worry about your job, you worry about everything around you, are you becoming like God or are you dealing with the opponent? So let's just get into it. We're going to finish the book today with the book report. Oh yeah, by the way, I will put the book in the description. I didn't do that. I was so geeked to do this video this morning that I didn't even I didn't even put the link in the description. Look at me. Let me do that right now. Cause it ain't like, just in case somebody want to get the book as we going through it. Like, no, I need to have this book in my library, hood. What's the link? So let me go ahead and share y'all this link. Peace, family, grand rising. We getting into this information. We are doing Becoming Like God book review. And man, I'm so happy to share this information with y'all. I'm so happy to that at least one person is going to become like their inner joy. I'm so happy that people understand their purpose. Oh man, the channel last night, it was like you can't love somebody. You got to have purpose because love is included in purpose along with a whole slew of other things. So it ain't about just simple love. Love is just one aspect to a relationship. If you're really serious about the relationship, you find purpose in that person. So Becoming Like God, Kabbalah and Our Ultimate Destiny by Michael Berg. We're going to go through the chapters right now. So the chapters are as follows: the mountain and the rock. I don't know. I got a text message. The mountain and the rock, the crack in the door, God disguised as you, certainty, the God formula, your life changes now, and death shall have no dominion, the opponent, the stuff that death is made of. And those were all chapters that we discussed in previous videos. So be sure to check out those previous videos. The chapters that we will be discussing today, however, comfort kills. The heart of the misguided people is almost. I would say something, but my phone will be reacting. So I'd be like, hey Siri. And I'm like, she vibrated. She be listening too much, okay? The heart of misguided people is almost. Like that Brandy song, almost doesn't count. What are the weapons of war? In referencing the war that you have within yourself. See, the deeper thing is that if you more tuned in and tapped into an enemy outside of yourself, whether it's your partner, whatever imagination that you can have that person has got it out with you, you haven't solved the inner war. So we'll deal with some weapons that help you defeat that inner war that's going in within you. The Zohar, and this is where it connect with me. The Zohar in the Kabbalah is actually one, or the Zohar teaches the Kabbalah. So this book is teaching you Kabbalah, teaching you all of the things that we've been talking up leading to here when I started uploading the classes and stuff like that. So all of this information is talking about one thing. And guess what that one thing is? That one thing is you. So when you see the tree of life, you start to understand that you're not looking at anything foreign. You're looking at the diagram of you and how you tune in and tap into your higher self. And this is the way to it. But then you figure, how often should I tune into my higher self? Like, what is the schedule like? And the reality is, all fucking day, no matter what you're doing, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 31 days in goddamn February, 365 days a year. Every single moment of your life is a simple process of tuning to your higher self. It simplifies life in a whole slew of ways. And then when you simplify this process, you get everything you want in return. See, but if you do not simplify this process and you don't tune into your higher self, you will be in a fucked up situation, the way that life is being set up. Because I hear horror stories and all types of crazy shit that's happening, but in reference, are you tuning into your higher self? So we ended with the ocean, not of all ears. That would be wild, an ocean of just nothing but ears. But the ocean of all the tears of all the people. So I was at the coffee shop, and then this CD came on called It Will All End in Tears. And it's a CD that came out in 1984, the year I was born. And it's like, I be liking like weird ass music and shit like that. So this was one of those CDs that was like super weird. It was like some 80s music. It sounded like Twin Peaks music, and I fucking love Twin Peaks music. Like, that is the best music to me. So I'm listening to this CD, and it make me think about how life is just going to end in death, right? And that shit bothers me, right? Like, damn, I'll do all of this stuff, you know what I'm saying? I'll have a bubble eye Benz on 20-inch rims, and all I'll do at the end of it is transition. My whole life, I don't know if y'all like me at all, but I always had a problem with the concept of death. Like, I never really fully accepted it. Even if other people around me transition, I would understand it to be. But within my heart, my whole entire life, I felt like I wouldn't necessarily die. And I tested that theory out a lot of times in my 20s. My mama don't know. My family don't know. A lot of people don't know. But I always tried to see if it was possible for me to die. Because I've had plenty of near-death experiences and like never fully committed to the concept of just dying. So I chilled out from my 20s a lot. You know what I'm saying? I think about it in a way of like, I need to understand it. I need to get into this shadow work. Because if I don't, it'll be something that I think about. It'll be something that I process, but it'll never be something that I explore. So throughout this conversation, we will explore the deeper concept of not dying. See, if you think that you may die, then essentially you open yourself up for that possibility. More or less, if you dread it, even as a young person, right? You could be young and think about death or think about the day that you might die. So essentially, from a spiritual point of view, it is like setting your pituitary gland on a downward spiral towards the perpetual or eventual said death. Now, this point, you start to do Kundalini work when you in your 20s and 30s. You start to understand the rising of energy and the rising of Kundalini energy and all of these particular things that come with it. So, in connecting with your higher self is the same way as moving up the tree of life. It's the same as raising Kundalini up your spine to the Kether. Okay? This is what you call life and activation. But I know I'm speaking French because essentially when I will have a conversation with a person, it is never in reference to the seriousness of their Kundalini activation. Even if you do purchase a book, you purchase a book to say you my friend or some shit. And that's not really going to cut it in reference into understanding the succinct, linear, and cyclical message and referencing what you are to do down here on earth. So let's start with chapter 8. Comfort kills. You may think that is heroin. You may think that is casual sex. You may think that is alcohol. But did you know comfort is the deadliest drug known to man? Because comfort is the high key representation of your mama and your daddy. Nine times out of 10, your parents have worked hard to establish comfort for themselves. They have worked jobs, they have paid rent, they have paid mortgage, they have done all of the things they needed to do to establish comfort for themselves. And if you do the same thing that they do, you will have the same result. And if your parents did not create a comfortable life, say for instance, your parents were a drug addict, and your parents decided to do drugs instead of raise you, or whatever the case may be. If you, as their child, decide to do the same thing that they did, you will have the same results as they had. You don't do drugs and then say, you know what? I'm going to do it better. I'm going to smoke crack a little differently. I'm going to smoke crack with class. I'm going to smoke crack spiritually for rituals. It don't work like that. If you smoke crack, you smoke crack. Ain't no cool way to do it. There's no cool way to receive for the self alone. So when you look at this particular picture, in my spiritual journey, I was at the bottom of the bottom. And you know what brought me up? I did a meditation. I had my cousin in Cleveland, DA. I knew my cousin Duran in Boston. I knew my cousin Chad in Boston. I knew all my homeboys. You know what I did? I just started sending them my shay. I just started sending them positive energy. I know DA, he want to make it in music. I know Duran, he want to do that. I know Chad, he want to do that. So I just started sending them my shay. I just hope that they had the best life ever. That's all I could do, because I was done, right? I didn't have shit. I was fucked up, and I couldn't even wish for myself. But when I started to do that, things started to happen. I did that meditation. I walked out the house. Mind you, I ain't have nothing, right? I don't never know if you ever just never had shit. But the choices that I made led me to not having shit, y'all. No GoFundMe, no nothing, right? So I just walk out the house, and this boy walking down the street, but he walking with some energy. So Spirit was just like, ask him where he work at. So I was like, hey dog, where you work at? He gave me a card. He's like, call him. He'll give you a job today. So long story short, I just started working for this temp agency, and that just kind of leveled me up. Just cause I am who I am. I ain't no slouch or nothing. I just was living a good life. It got too good. So it just, I had to find balance in what I needed to find balance in. But I say that to say, if you find yourself in a negative situation, don't wish for yourself, because you already wish for yourself enough, right? You wish for yourself into this deep, dark hole. You wish for that. You wish for the man. You wish for the job. You wish for the high-rise apartment that you getting kicked out. You wish for all of this shit. Stop wishing. Start giving. It makes a lot of sense, but you have to be persistent with it. You have to understand that it's never about you for yourself. You cannot follow the path of your parents. You cannot. You can't look to your parents as people who have created a life for themselves and have never given to nobody. You can't look for that as a commendable life. That's some weird shit when you think about everybody needs everybody to survive. Okay, so if you are in a level of comfort, like if you worked hard, maybe your parents have came from the bottom of whatever the case may be, right? Like your parents was homeless, you know what I'm saying? Worked hard, right? And now they got them a nice crib and shit like that. You know what they'll tell you? I worked hard for this. You don't know what I came through to have this big bubble-eye Benz on 20-inch rims. I had to sell my ass for this, whatever the case may be, right? Yeah, some of y'all, never mind. We ain't gonna get to some of y'all, never mind. That's too deep of a subject. And we talking about becoming like God. We ain't talking about becoming like Paul Bajira. I digress. So, if you are comfortable, you will never create the urgent need to change, to become like God, to do the Kabbalistic, connect to your higher self, because your comfort says, even though I'm not happy, even though I'm watching the same television programs, Netflix programs, sitting on my ass, even though I'm not doing shit productive, even though I have resources that I can share, even though I can invest, even though I can expand and live my life to its fullest capacity, I'm too comfortable. I don't need to change because I'm comfortable. So you have to have a sense of urgency to change from that comfort, but essentially this is where the rubber meets the road, and generally comfortability is essentially what will block you from becoming like God. And then you will have to fight within yourself because you are God. See, that's how it works. You either become like God or you fight the ego within. And since you're not bold enough and strong enough to say, hey, I am the enemy, I am the opponent for which I have to fight against, you then project that on whoever triggers whatever buttons that particularly you can get pushed. There are many buttons that I've heard get pushed in this world. So, what's comfortable for the body is misery for the soul. But to get the comfort of the soul is to be uncomfortable in the body. This is alignment because Me and Dreamwise didn't talk about this beforehand. Dreamwise put out a video last night about being uncomfortable. So clearly Spirit is saying y'all too fucking comfortable out here in these streets. Clearly Spirit is saying y'all made some money and relax. Clearly Spirit is saying the energy that y'all walked in the door with is not the energy y'all kept once y'all got in the crib. Clearly Spirit is saying that. So to find your edge, you need to figure out how you're uncomfortable and sit in that for a second. But you then might feel like that is too difficult to come about. So we'll get into some details, or how the author explains how to figure out how to seek uncomfortability as a means to grow, because it's all about intention. It's not uncomfortability for uncomfortability's sake. It's uncomfortability so you could be comfortable within your soul. You think that I was comfortable the first time I got online and started speaking? Or did I do 900 videos to perfect, or attempt to perfect and continue to perfect, to be comfortable within my body? I'm not comfortable specifically speaking. Actually, I'm very uncomfortable speaking because I don't speak classic English. Like, you know, I came from goddamn Mars and some shit, came down to this planet. Y'all speak all proper and shit like that. Got all of these words. Why is it a K in front of no and you can't say no? Tell me why that makes sense. But in y'all mind, it makes sense. Y'all comfortable in y'all idiocracy. But I digress. Should you choose to seek comfort, or should you choose to seek the comfort of the soul? Essentially, you seeking comfort, but uncomfortability is the comfort of the soul, and this is the direction you should go. You shouldn't try to do both. You shouldn't attempt to be comfortable and then comfortable within the soul. The same way as if I'm going to LA, I wouldn't say I'm going east and west. No, I gotta go west if I want to go to LA. If I don't want to go west, either I'm going to LA, I gotta go west. If I don't want to go to LA, then if I don't want to go west, then I don't go to LA. It's just, I can't go east. People will say, yeah, you can go around the globe, but imagine how silly that is to prove a point. You might get lost. You can get to LA traveling east, right? But imagine how crazy that is when all you have to do is take 2 steps up. When all you have to do is connect to your soul, right? All you have to do is go west. Like, it's simple. But generally, people try to come with the different types of logic, right? It's easy to come up with the logic to say, no, you don't really have to go west to go to LA. You could go east and just travel around the world, go through China, travel across the Pacific Ocean and be in LA too, hood. You don't have to always go west. And it's like, these are y'all baby dads. Like, these are y'all baby dads. You feel me? Like, always putting a logic on top of some shit that really don't need logic a lot of times. Sometimes shit is just easy and simple, and that's what becoming like God is, because essentially you are God. So why would it be a difficult process? It is a simple process. You must become uncomfortable and do the thing that makes you uncomfortable because you love it. I want to speak. I know that I would love to speak, but at first I was just horrible at it. And I'm probably still a level of horrible, but that's okay. I'm to a point where I love it. So you could kiss my ass and you could watch goddamn Dame Drops eat a hamburger. At this point, who gives a shit? It's all different types of shit that you could watch. But I understand. I'm talking about how to become like God. I'm talking about the deepest spirituality known to man. And I'm saying that it's very simple. Y'all like a nigga to be very confusing and speak your ass in circles and take all of your money and have you fucking confused. That's what y'all want. But I'm not going to give you that. I refuse to give you that. I refuse to charge you. I refuse to make it to a point where you feel like you need to do something to become God. I'm saying that you already are God. I know this. You don't know this. And this is the fucking problem. You sit and tell me about your complaints and your issues and your problems, but you do not tell me about the work that you do to find the God within you. Which should be your priority? Which should be the thing that you sit and fucking obsess over? How can I become like God? What am I doing right now? Being fucking aware of what you are doing, what you are feeling, and essentially, what's the purpose? Because if it's some external purpose that you're talking about, some business, some relationship, some fuckery fuck that may work or may not work, I'm going to tell you, kiss my ass at this point. If you're ready to become like God, then we can work, we can chop, we could do it, we could do whatever you want to do. But you can't be not serious about becoming like God. Because it's internal and it's so serious because we are butterflies. Did you know that we are butterflies? But we out here living this spiritual caterpillar bullshit, and I'm tired of it. So, how do you know you're being uncomfortable? You point out, and trust me, get the book, because I'm skimming and scamming like a bitch right now. Like, I am cracking cars right now how bad I'm skimming and scamming, but I'm skimming and scamming and I got a whole bunch of information too. And it's a whole bunch of information that I'm leaving out that's vital to your understanding of becoming like God. And to those who are entering the chat, God is personal to what you feel is the absolute of ultimate joy. God is getting your salad tossed in the waterfall by Idris Elba, right? God is a whole, like, getting your salad tossed by Halle Berry in the Chilean mountains on horseback. God is whatever you want it to be, but it is the ultimate of positive feelings. And this is where you become, this is what you become. You do not fall victim of media's programming trying to get you into a fear-like state to weaken your immune system so they can harvest your understanding of who you are. This is a very critical moment in time where you decide who you are. Are you a spiritual being having a human experience, or are you just a human being? It's very important to understand, because that's the conversation and the dialogue that needs to take place. But you have to do the work to have the dialogue. So, the need to feel special, the hunger for approval, longing to belong, the addiction to fluff and flattery keeps comfort alive. See, when you need to feel special, when you have the hunger for approval, the longing to belong, the addiction to fluff and flattery. Okay? And a lot of things is like where I didn't even know this. Yesterday, I learned a new word. And that whole time, right, I thought what motherfuckers was calling love, it ain't even love. It's a whole new word that I didn't even know existed. It's either lime rinse, like rinse a whole plate of limes, rinse limes, or limerence. I don't know which one it is. But a limerence is obtaining affection. It is characterized by testosterone, dopamine, and adrenaline. It sees the object of love as perfect without flaws. Stress and frustration due to lack of commitment, mind games, and cannot stop thinking about their crush. Love, however, is given affection, creates vasopressin, oxytocin, and similar calming chemicals, sees the lover's flaws but accepts them, is calm and relaxing in solid relationships. In love, there is clear communication. In love, you can stop thinking about the lover whenever you need to. Hello. Whole time I'm listening to people telling me how much they love people. Whole time I'm gonna be like, that sounds like limerence to me. Because limerence is wishing to be loved, wanting to be loved. Love is the giving of that love that you wish to receive. And now you're in a whole different world. Now you're so uncomfortable in a space where you're giving unconditionally to a person that you said you love. He didn't say he loved you. You said you loved him, but you didn't really love him. You was in limerence. And if you find yourself in limerence, if you find yourself thinking about a person, wanting a person, I'm going to give you some very serious advice that you should not let it go. You should take this advice to heart. If I ain't never told you nothing in life, let that motherfucker go. Okay? You don't need to be thinking about nobody who ain't thinking about you on no level. You got too much work to do out here. I better not hear it. You better not come to me talking about no little boy that you like or no little girl that you interested in. You don't got time for that. Because if it's meant to be, you will raise yourself up to the highest level and you will attract her. And if you don't attract her or him, then you need to work on yourself. You need to get your attractors up. You should be at the point with relationships. This is no lie. When you serious about your spirituality, you look at relationships like, should I choose A, B, C, D, E, F, G, E? Like, which one should I choose? If you find yourself in a position where you need somebody, you just not tuned in and tapped into your source yet, and you ain't really lit for real. Within you is a lit ass motherfucker out here in these streets that can choose. I believe that. I know that. I trust that. However, it ain't about you feeling special or you receiving love from somebody. It's about you giving that. So, how do we become like the Creator as opposed to hoping the Creator will become like us? It's easy to pray for what we want, but the prayer should be to know what we already know and get closer to that. So simply, we know everything that we need to know within us. You have a knower within you that knows everything. You are the best and deepest psychic known to man because you have thought and magnetized and created the life that you're living in right now. You've created a whole psychic parallel world within your life right now. Everything you created is from a psychic point of view. So essentially, if you decided should you get hot Cheetos or salt and vinegar chips, you didn't get a reading for that. You automatically knew, oh, I'm feeling hot Cheetos today. That was some psychic stuff. How did you attract your partner, your kid's mother, your kid's father? That was some psychic stuff. You knew, Roscoe, I want you, baby. At every point, you always know, should I take a left? Should I take a right? Should I go down Monroe or should I go down Broad? I'm going to take Monroe because traffic going to be crazy on Broad. You know, you talking to yourself, you having these conversations within yourself, and you're not getting closer to it. You're utilizing it when you need it, and that's fucked up. Think about it. Think about it. Think about your whole fucking life and all of the decisions that you made, and you never asked nobody for shit. And now all of a sudden, I tell you, get closer to your higher self, and now you're trying to figure out how to do it. Now I tell you to meditate. You like, well, how do I do that? Then you just have a whole conversation with yourself before you clicked on the video about what you should wear today before you go to work. And then you already know what you was going to wear, how you was going to look in it, how you had to worry about how to get rid of that lint ball or how to get rid of that stain or whatever the case may be. So you already had it sitting the tide, soaking on the stain or whatever. All of this is psychic powers. Because essentially, you might look at your life, well, that's some stupid ass shit. And then I'm saying, well, that's kind of the point. You're utilizing all your psychic energy for some stupid ass shit. So if you already know, why don't you ask yourself what it is you should be doing as opposed to imagining you already know and you obviously don't know if you haven't created the life that you truly desire. You need to move closer to yourself, closer to your knower. Within you, there is a knower. Within you, there is a truth. And if you do not get closer to it, it's a wrap. Now, riddle me this. I like to ask y'all questions because I love y'all critical thinking abilities. It makes me make sense of this shit, right? So, I just want in the chat A or B. Would you want to perpetually get closer to God day by day within yourself as a rule, as a priority, A, Or B, would you want to sign up for a 3-day retreat with all of your favorite gurus hawking hot mumbo jumbo down your throat for 3 days for $5,000? Would that bring you closer to God, or would that just be a comfortable situation? A or B? Hot lava, getting closer to God perpetually, daily, as a rule, as a priority. And if you forget, you should do what I'm doing. I read the book twice. I took notes. I talked about it in the mystery school. And I'm doing this video. And then I'm going to put all of the videos that I did together. And then I'm going to watch them all and take notes on my videos, because that's how serious it is to me. And then in every conversation, I want to persistently build my relationship with my inner God. When we are uncomfortable, we have access to our God within. I did not know that I had the abilities that I had when I was comfortable in my home, relaxing, watching some b-ball outside of the school, right? It took a couple of guys who were up to no good to start making trouble in my neighborhood. I got one big fight and my mom got scared and said, "You moving with your dad in the projects of Boston." Right? So, I don't know where that came from. Shout out to Will Smith. Virgo energy. Big Virgo energy. Big cuck energy. Not one grand gesture, but many small victories. So, a lot of people, when I start talking about spirituality, I can feel it within their bones. I can feel it within their core, their being. They want me to shoot some fire out my ass crack. And I'm just like, listen, it's not that kind of spirituality. So they like, all right, just make fire with your hands then. Okay, you say you a magician, pull a rabbit out of a hat. And I'll be like, cash merch available at ColumbianExchange.com. What? No, not that kind of, okay. So they want this big grand gesture of spirituality. So you might look at a dude. I done seen a nigga walk around with an unk big as a dog. I mean, a huge ass unk. Like, damn, is you generating electricity with that motherfucker? I know you spiritual, nigga. Your unk too huge for you not to be spiritual. Like, you feel me? So it's like, it's not one big grand gesture. Like I said, would you do A or would you do B? And if you choose A, then you take many small victories of you perpetually moving towards transformation. And you don't quit saying, all right, I've been on this transformation journey for a while, hood. Whatever. I don't feel like the big thing has happened. Well, we wasn't never going for big shit, sis, bro. We was going for many small victories of connecting to the knower. So if you get a bag of chips and they end up being the chips that hit hard for that day, that's a small victory. Because you didn't know whether you was going to get Popeyes today or Rallies. Spirit said, why don't you just eat a goddamn carrot? And you chose a carrot, that's a small victory. Because you've been going hard on the fast food and the DoorDash and shit like that. So if you took one day to drink some water and a carrot, that's a small victory, bro, sis, whoever I'm talking to. Somebody DM'd me the other day like, "Hi, Mr. Hood, but do you know me, or do my brother or sister be calling you and telling you about my business? Because I don't think that's okay." I'm like, sis, I just be fooling. Like, I don't be talking to, because she was like, "My baby's father's name is Jermaine." And I'm like, oh, God. Oh, God. I said, "I'm so sorry." That was the first name that popped up in my head. It just seems like for the past couple of weeks you've been talking about me, and I just want to know. And I'm just like, no, sis, I'm not talking about you. I promise. Okay. I'm sorry, Jermaine. My DMs is the stuff of legends, I promise you. But I digress. So, these many small victories outside of your out of your comfort zone, you're not waiting for that viral moment. You're not waiting for your savior to come save you from the amazing abyss which your life is falling in because you created it out of seeking comfort. You're not waiting for Fashion Nova to endorse you. You're not waiting for this grand thing. And if you do want Fashion Nova to endorse you, you take small steps towards that in creating the aesthetic or aura to attract that. So these small victories, these small steps will awaken your natural divine nature, but not the spiritual action, but the uncomfortable action. So say for instance, you got a spiritual routine, right? And it's very comfortable, right? And it's very like your spiritual routine is the stuff made for legends and you feel good about it. You know what you need to do with that spiritual routine? Take it, ball it up in the trash, and shoot it like Steph Curry. Or take that same spiritual routine and do it in front of people. Like Dreamwise was saying yesterday in the live. Do your spiritual routine at the park while people was walking by. Well, Hood, that's uncomfortable. Oh, Hood, I'm uncomfortable doing that. You only want to do your spirituality in the dark? Okay, let's talk about this. Who told y'all that y'all spirituality had to be hidden and not like never in the space of the form of like, why is it that everybody knows you as who you are, but nobody knows you as a spiritual person? But you call yourself a spiritual person. But your parents and people close to you, they don't get to see that side of you. Well, this is all centered in you being uncomfortable versus you being comfortable. So you have to move into a place where you are uncomfortable in your spirituality if you want it to hit. So y'all be talking to me. Anybody I talk to or reading to me, I'd be like, why don't you start a YouTube page? Well, I don't know about that. And da. I'm not saying start a YouTube page so you can go viral. I'm just saying to get over whatever the fuck you got in you to just make you feel like you can't speak. When you clearly have a voice and you clearly need to work on it and you clearly need to listen to yourself so you can get into a point where you can speak clearly to the universe, clearly to your partner, clearly to your children, you got to practice. So the author goes in to say, if you're reading this book and you're not uncomfortable, then the book ain't worth shit. The design of this book is to make you feel uncomfortable, and becoming like God is for you to be uncomfortable. Because uncomfortability is the gateway to divinity, according to the author. So my analogy, how I understood it, comfort and surety is only as spiritual as it provides the comfort and surety. But riddle me this, Batman, Batwoman, Catman, what do you do when it is no longer comfortable or when you're no longer sure? Oh, then you go batshit crazy, huh? What if you never got into a relationship based upon comfort and the surety? What if you got into a relationship based on unconditional love? And when you're ready for that, then you have learned. But if you're not ready for that, you just haven't learned shit. And you will come back again. That's the hardest lesson. When you see a multitude of men and women sit in their fucking high-rise apartments with their arms folded as if somebody is supposed to love them, and that's not even love. That's a whole nother word that you gotta completely let go. Love is a particular action where you're giving unconditionally, and that's what you come down here to learn. but you learn it by loving yourself unconditionally. And once you are sure within yourself, then you are spiritual. But you don't become sure within yourself without exposing yourself to uncomfortable situations. Comfort is an illusion and it is an attack. And the problem with comfort being an illusion and an attack, it doesn't feel like it. Because you have no knowledge of the soul, you only have knowledge of the body. The reason that you're upset, the reason why you can't find peace is because you do not tune into your soul. Once you tune into your soul, you will find freedom. You will find healing. You will find purpose. And then you will find love because you will be able to give. You will have something to give. The heart of misguided people is almost. And I translated that to almost doesn't count because I listen to Brandy a lot. When you listen to Brandy, you look at life a whole different way. This is a fact. I think we call it Brandianians. I just made that up. Don't mind me. One is never done becoming like God because it is a constant climb to your divinity. There is no middle. You are choosing the divine within or nothing at all. I'll change the words up a little bit. You choose the God within or you don't choose shit. You talking about, what are you talking about? Hold on. You want me to wait till you deal with some other shit until you get to the divine within? How do you get into a level of uncomfortability? You thank the moments that you are uncomfortable. If you at work and then they asking for somebody to speak, your ass should be the first one to say whatever the hell it is that you need to say. You should not be at work acting like anything other. You need to listen. If you ain't at work doing magic, that's what you got to use it for. But you got to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. You got to put yourself out there. And essentially, it's going to be people that make you feel uncomfortable. You got to learn to thank them. You got to learn to be grateful for those opportunities that you were uncomfortable to where you had the gateway or the access to your divinity. So since there is no middle ground, and since you are choosing the divine within over all things, when you choose the divine within, you get used to going the extra mile. You get used to doing extra shit. You get used to giving unconditionally. You get used to being perpetual. You get used to being consistent. You get used to being accountable. You get used to being reliable because you're not there for what you can receive. Because you understand the difference between love and you understand the difference between limerence. You understand that you let go of limerence. You understand that you let go of your need to feel good, to be comfortable, to have an easy life. Because in reference to what I thought an easy life would consist of, I realized that an easy life generally consists of a life of working in a manner for which you want to work. That's an easy life. But you don't forego the work part. Okay? So this is the Perpetual Ladder that he writes in the book. So he never talks about the Kabbalah. He never talks about the Tree of Life. So essentially, he alludes to it, though. He has 10 rungs. One rung being Malkuth and the 10th rung being Keter. I'll explain this at the end. It could be flipped. 1 is 1 and 10 is 1. That's the same thing. We'll explain that a little later. But why should you accept the divine? Why should you tap into the divine energy within yourself? Because there is a treasure at the top of the ladder, aka Keter. If you stop after a long journey, you may have a long journey. The world may feel you have been on a long journey, but if you stop before you have reached the treasure, you have done nothing. So I'm sorry to tell you, if you buy a home, you get a mortgage, you pay that mortgage off. If you get a business, a real estate business, and you make millions of dollars, if you started from the bottom and you manifest everything that you wish to manifest, but you have not accessed the divine within, you have done nothing. There is no days off in the becoming of God. When should I do it? When should I be tuned into my divine energy? Like on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays? Is them good days to tune in? No. 7 days a week, 8 days a week, 365 days a year, all the time, every day, all day, you tune in to yourself. The author, Michael Berg, he also talks about distractions. In the book, he says, distractions are insanity. Distractions are like watching TV while the house burns down. Because there's a war going on within you and you're not able to fight that war. And when I start, and if I say obliterate the ego, you say, why, Hood? Why I need to do that? What's the reason for that? I'll do anything but that. So when you dealing with the ego will have you distracted. It'll have you watching TV. It'll have you absorbing energy that you don't need to absorb. It's always work to do. It's always purpose. It's always connections. It's always opportunities where you can find yourself to be uncomfortable. Because when you're uncomfortable, you're also present. And when you're present, you're tuned in and tapped in. Now, what's the problem? I talk to my son about this all the time. He be walking and he like to look back and check where I'm at or check where his mom is at. And then when he start looking back, he start running in and shit. He start falling. And I'll be like, hey, you can't, like, I'm not trying to be mean or nothing, but you can't walk forward and look back. If you need to look back, stop walking. Right? But in reference to your life and moving forward, that's what another reason, like, if I'm feeling down, then I'm down. Leave me the fuck alone. I'll feel better later, but just let me feel this. Let me embrace this downness that I'm feeling, because I'm not going to be fake. If I'm negative, I'm going to be all the way negative, because the negativity is going to wear off, and then I'll come back the next day even better. But if I try to balance it, I'll make the shit worse. I'll start saying shit, start doing shit, and it just ain't even worth it. So not being distracted is so key to tuning in to your God within. But it's not even a point, like, when I'm talking about this for a majority of people, because when it comes to distractions, that's the rule, right? But distractions are insanity. So what does that say about the rule? Most people are fucking insane, but they'll look at me like I'm insane. So I guess touche. All right. There are many things that are like becoming like God, but if they do not lead to complete transformation, if they do not lead to immortality, if they do not lead to a life where death does not exist, then they are completely pointless. So if you go to a retreat and the lecturers are speaking that hot mumbo jumbo fresh off the presses, it's nothing that you can do. Right? It's nothing that you can do. Ain't no change that's been made. You just out of $3,000 off the weekend. And a weekend that you'll never get back. Because the ultimate transformation happens with you. And it happens when you are consistent with yourself. Doesn't matter if all of the men, it doesn't matter if you get a BBL and all of the men say, girl, you is the finest girl I ever seen in my life. You about a damn angel goddess out here in these streets. Can I give you some money? What's your cash app, girl? Completely pointless if it does not lead to transformation. And when we speak about caterpillars, we're talking about chrysalis, right? Chrysalis, right? This is the cocoon phase. But as you can see, the cocoon is hanging from the branch. He lives his caterpillar life, and then he's hanging from the branch. And when I seen this, I seen Christ, and I seen him hanging. I thought about Odin. That's what it looked like to me. But when a caterpillar is born, it is his duty, it is his priority to become a butterfly. It is not his duty and priority to stay as a caterpillar. So us as black people, us as human beings, us as white people, Chinese people, Puerto Ricans, whatever classification you find yourself identifying with, that's caterpillar shit, fam. You need to hang that shit up, go into a cocoon, because once you a butterfly, you become a monarch, a king, divine, a ruler. And it's never a point where the caterpillar is in reference to the butterfly. It's a whole different organism. However, the caterpillar's purpose, its whole purpose, was to become a butterfly. So your whole and the purpose of becoming a butterfly is an internal transformation. It is a complete and utter transformation that we have the ability to, but we have no example other than people like Jesus. People like that, right? Who either exists or don't exist. We ain't never seen it, because in reference to the God force energy, what religion has done is externalized it. Now you have to read a Bible to transform, but you don't even have the access to transform. Only Jesus can transform. It is only one Christ. But in reference to the reality of the Bible, ye are gods. So the deeper aspect of being God is learning transformation. It is not to get a new pair of leggings and show off for these little boys, young ladies. That's negative energy. If every boy tells you how beautiful you are, tell them to kiss your ass. It's not going to matter. You are here to divine and elevate, because that's caterpillar shit. Only a caterpillar have a fat ass. He needs to be complimenting you on your wings. Okay? Being good is a barrier to being God. Average meets average, but extreme darkness is met with extreme light. So if you are like me and experience extreme darkness, that is also a gateway for you to tap into your extreme light. What will generally happen is that you won't have anything on the external to focus on. And so because you don't have anything on the external to focus on, you focus intently on the internal. And this leads to chrysalis, or transformation. This leads to the runes in Nordic mythology. Odin hung upside down for 9 days. And then he was gifted the runes. And the runes were the precursor to the alphabet. It was his ability to communicate with the gods and manifest things at the highest level, because he had connection with his higher self, because he was able. And if you see him hanging upside down, it's almost like he's forcing his lower self through gravity to attach to his higher self. And he stood like this for 9 days as a symbol of your lower self coming one with your higher self. And then when you flip upside down and live the normal life, you have a different type of consciousness. And if you have this consciousness, you are transformed, because you no longer think the way that you thought. So the difference between hearing all of the conscious information and applying it is that when you go into a relationship, you're going into it as a god, as a goddess, as opposed to going into it as a person that needed something from somebody. It feels so powerful to not need from somebody, to just want to give to you, right? And to be conscious of that. To make a choice of who I want to love, how I want to love them, and not say, I'm going to love you, but you owe me $50. Can I stay on your couch since I gave you this love? So let's continue. The weapons of war. These are the weapons that help us get out of the prison known as ego life. So what is the prison? The prison is a separation from source, the fact that we are never escaping reality. So if you want a picture of what this looks like, we can look at the tree of life. So this is the mountain. This is the mountain. You can see the like pyramid apex shape mountain. This is where we come from. This is where we are. So essentially, life, happiness, joy, benefit, positive energy is us attaching to this. And this wants that, and that wants this, and we need to meet somewhere in the middle, or we just need to walk the whole way. It doesn't matter. But essentially, we're getting to the crux of our higher self. And we're not doing it sometimes. We're not figuring, well, I had to work today, so I forgot about my higher self. That shit is dead. It is a priority. It is a need. It is a focus. And you don't say, I was tuning into my higher self because Hood told me to. No, you tune into your higher self because you fucking desire it, like you desired Jermaine's ass that one night when you was going off that Hennessy and you was sending them text messages. That's how you need to want your higher self. You need to sex your higher self. I want you, daddy. Right? So, in this prison of separation from source, the fact is that you'll never escape this reality. You'll never get into a space where you're too comfortable that you don't have to tap into your divine self. You're never that comfortable. Okay? Never that comfortable. My fault, I got a text message. My bad. Okay. In this prison of separation from source, the fact is that you are never escaping the reality. You're never escaping the reality that you are in this situation called life, and you have this higher self, and you know not about it, and you looking for everything as far as comfort, as far as money, as far as success, as far as friendships, as far as notoriety, as far as business, as far as clients, as far as all of this shit. And do you ever put that same energy and effort to your soul? Right? Because you absolutely have to escape. And the escape of it is either you are connecting with source or you are not. There is no middle ground. There is no halfway point. And the reason why is because within us is a war that exists, a parasitic entity that is called the ego. And its ultimate goal is to lead you to death. And it doesn't kill you instantly, family. It doesn't kill you like that. It takes a hold of you. It gives you habits. It gives you vices. It gives you ignorance. And it gives you that, and it tells you to feed those things daily, right? So now you're doing a whole bunch of stupid shit. You're doing a whole bunch of selfish shit. And what do you look like? You look reactive. You look mechanical. You look like a puppet on a string. What is a puppet on a string? Why are you going to get mad if somebody say something that you don't agree with? And you don't even know why you agree with it, nor do you understand why the person said what they said. They could have did research to come to a complete, utter opposing view. And generally, they could be right, nor they could be wrong, but you mad about it. You angry about it. They need to be stopped. They shouldn't be saying that because they lying, right? Your anger is because it's like you being a puppet on the string. Because if you ask anybody before they get angry, do you want to get angry? They say, no, I don't want to get angry. I want to handle this situation. And then they start to get triggered. And now they fucking furious. You don't even know who this person is. That is the ego. That is the opponent. And if you don't fucking kill that mother, you got to destroy it. Because what it'll do, it'll show up in relationship. It'll show up against your kids. It'll show up everywhere. Everywhere. If they say the wrong thing, now you whooping their ass. Boy, didn't I tell you? What you, right? Whooping them, right? And you don't want to kill that person inside of you that'll whoop your kids and beat your kids' ass like that? You don't want to get rid of that person that ruined every single relationship you get in because you can't handle when you get jealous? You don't want to get rid of that motherfucker? Think about it. You like being jealous and angry and mean and all of this stuff? You want to justify and come up with ideologies instead of killing that ego, huh? I hear you. Sounding good, too. What does it look like when we become like God? How do we know the difference? How do we know that this person is not a puppet on the string when this person is proactive, spontaneous, and autonomous, meaning they are doing the things that they want to do when they want to do it because they are free? When you are reactive, mechanical, and a puppet on the string, you can't help but to get angry. You justified it, rationalized it, read books on it, got clinically diagnosed. So when it went down, it just went down. He know I take medicine. He know I'm crazy. Y'all ain't ready for that conversation, so I'm going to keep going. The back and forth battle never ends until we make the choice to become like God. So how are some weapons to help us defeat that character? How do we create the weapons that defeat the character within themselves? Because within yourself is the ultimate problem. And if you are not a big girl, if you are not a big boy, if you are not a man, if you're not a woman, if you are not an adult to take accountability for the energies within yourself that need to be wrangled, then essentially you will continuously find yourselves in situations that you've created and that you've attracted because you haven't gone to war with yourself. You yourself is the victory hero of the shit, the star of the show. Can't do no wrong. And essentially, this is the ego. This ginger got me on. Whoa. Feed me, Seymour. My kids watched The Little Shop of Horrors from beginning to end. I was so happy. Like, y'all is like me too. Y'all just like me, because that was my movie. When your kids like the things that you like when you was their age, that's a whole nother level of connection that I don't even know what to say. So what are the weapons of war that we could use against the opponent? Recognition. When you recognize that it is you, recognition breeds urgency. And once you recognize the fact that you are acting on behalf of a parasitic entity known as the ego, you don't say, well, how should I balance the ego with dealing with the soul? You don't balance the ego with the soul. You go towards the soul perpetually. Because balancing the ego with the soul will have you spending $4,000 at a lecture and having a whole bunch of people hawk hot lava down your throat and shit that don't matter. Because when you leave that lecture, when you leave the goddamn resort or whatever the case may be, you will have to continuously move closer to God. But you know what people do after they go to a lecture? They start to tell you about the lecture that they went through. Then nobody even ask. You was sitting here talking about goddamn Costa Rica. I went to a resort in Costa Rica. Such and such was holding it. We meditated, we hold hands, and we looked at the ocean. It was so powerful. How much you spend? $8,000, room and board and food. I had to pay for my food too, so I ended up spending like 12. It was so amazing though. Sounds like a hustle to me, sis, but keep spending your money on those resorts. I'm gonna spend nothing and perpetually move closer to God through my actions. I'm going to share with y'all. I'm going to grow with y'all. I'm going to make sure that y'all are growing. I'm not going to just be like, you know what? I figured it out. Y'all can kiss my ass. What a lot of spiritual people have done after they took y'all money. After they talk after they took y'all money, they said, fuck y'all. Ask about your favorite spiritual. Why y'all be putting out videos like you used to? Because they rich and they told y'all to kiss their ass, if you haven't noticed by now. What you thought those $100 classes every week, that shit was adding up and stacking up. They wasn't teaching y'all shit. Because the shit that I'm teaching, the shit that I'm telling you carries more weight than anything that anybody has ever said to you, ever. Your perpetual need to get closer to your divine energy is all you need. And anything outside of that is a waste of fucking time. It is a distraction. See, it's so simple that it's hard for you to grasp how fucking simple it is. As a child, you refuse to accept death and suffering. If you was anything like me, I don't know. Some people have a propensity for death. They want death and they seek death and they attract death. I'm the opposite. I already felt this way, but reading this book, I accepted that I feel this way and I'm okay with sharing it. I refuse to accept death and suffering within my life and those people that I love. This is Becoming Like God by Michael Berg. The link is in the chat. So utilizing the God formula, which was chapter 6, clarity, focus on the ultimate goal. It's because I'm saying it, I know, but really simple shit. Be so clear on the God within, be so focused on it, and let that be your ultimate goal. Meditate on your higher self. Don't worry about what you have or don't have. Let things take care of themselves and move forward in this truth. Do you get rid of the ego? No, but you notice when the ego is receiving for the self alone and you rise up and you fight against that at all terms. You might buy, when we was talking in the mystery school yesterday, Chica gave a wonderful example. She said, if I buy a sandwich, I might not be buying this sandwich for me. I might walk to somebody walking down the street in New York City and somebody just might ask me for that sandwich. And I got to give it to him. And then I looked at the homeless people at the crossroads and I said, oh shit, these is issues. I better have my offerings or I might have a bad day. Or I might have an unfavorable experience. See, if I'm looking at them as homeless people, I'm not in my mythology. But if I'm in my mythology, I know that Ishu is a trickster figure. And I know that you meet him at the crossroads. So when I'm at a stoplight and the homeless person is at my door asking for change, I gotta have dollars in my car now. Because if I don't have my offering for eating, it's just me. This is just how I give it up. I'm very sincere when it comes to my offerings and my givings to spirit, to water, to people, to energies, and they use these homeless people as vessels, and they use these homeless people as tests. Okay? So if you're looking at this shit from the ego, like I'm gonna keep all of my shit for myself, you're not going to get it, and you're going to be looking for it. Okay? That's the issue. Of course, yeah, I don't have to do that, hood. I can just worry about myself, but at the same time, you're not going to ask me, you're going to then just ask somebody down the block. Meaning you're not solving shit by asking this person, that person, listen to this person, that person. Essentially, the only way that you solve it is when you be certain that you can and will become like God through your actions. What are these actions? We avoid comfort like the plague. We stay away from the death trap of comfort and plunging gladly into discomfort. Gladly giving a homeless man $2. On every aspect, at every turn, we are shattering the ego and we are turning into and tuning into the God within. Why we have to be perpetual with this, why we have to be constant with this is because almost doesn't count. Y'all heard the Brandy song. Y'all jam to it. Now live it. Understand it in life. Almost does not count. And you cannot determine what another person is or isn't going to do. Don't take this information and saying, oh, my kids need to hear this. No, sis, you need to hear this. Oh, my mama need to hear this. No, bro, you need to hear this. Because you're so quick to help somebody else, but have you fully realized the God within yourself? Yes, Hood, I realized the God within myself 10 years ago. Then you haven't realized the God within yourself. The God within yourself is a perpetual daily understanding that grows and grows and grows and grows and grows and expands and expands and expands, and it leads to ultimate transformation. Transformation to be like, what are you offering the people? What are you giving freely to the people? Well, I have this business that I'm running. You ain't giving nobody shit for nothing if I got to give you money, and that's fair exchange. I gave you money, you gave me a good. That's nothing. What have you given to the people that you didn't want anything in return for? Well, I've never done nothing like that. Well, you have never been in your God form. Now, up to this point, this is chapter 9, 10, whatever. If you believe this information, you would have changed by now. Once I read chapter 1 and 2, my whole life changed. Because I was persistent and I wasn't afraid to share. I wasn't afraid to do or follow my intuition. I wasn't afraid to love my wife or my children. It was a game changer for me. But if you thinking that I'm talking about everybody but you, because we homeboys, or you got a reading from me a couple of months ago or a couple of years ago, and you don't need no tune-up, you are fucking out of your mind. I'm here doing this work like I ain't had shit. You understand? This is the shit that I used to do when I ain't have no money. I got money, and I'm still giving it up the same way I did when I didn't have shit. The donations is up in this corner. You have to be certain that you can become like God. You have to be certain that the inner joy has to be found within you so you can actually seek to find it. Because the same energy and fervorance that you give into everything outside of you, your career, your business, your friendship, your aesthetic, is the same energy that your soul needs. But you give it to him, you don't give it to him. Or him or her, or whatever. Look, no gender. If you don't think you can become like God, then you won't. However, if you are certain that you will live forever, if you can bear witness to a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly, just rest on that thought. Say it is possible. Trust it. Gain trust. Learn trust, because this is what we are doing. We are transforming. And we are not trying to bring the caterpillar energy, the human energy, into our transformation, into our angelic presence. It is not necessary. We are in the process of living forever. We are in the process of doing something that human beings have never done, but it's from being in a space of understanding yourself so deeply, following yourself so intently, and getting so uncomfortable in following yourself that you are in a space where you are able to give and see the results of receiving. Because I know you think about this and you get triggered. Well, if I'm uncomfortable and I'm giving, then I'm going to be fucked up. Well, you've been selfish and been doing this evenly scaled this whole entire time. And guess what? Your ass is fucked up anyway. So it's time to do something different. But essentially, all of this information that I'm putting out, it means nothing at all if you don't read the book, if you don't take the notes, if you don't understand it for yourself. And I tell you, you can read this whole book in one day, okay? With notes. If you got a highlighter, you can read this book in 3 hours. And it'll change you. Because it'll bring you to an understanding of what needs to be done. And it simplifies the Kabbalistic ways and the technology of the Kabbalah. What is the technology of the Kabbalah? The human being connecting with his higher self. Because when the human beings connect with the higher self then tells the human being exactly what it needs to do. So if you do not connect with the higher self, you get the law of attraction or cause and effect, and you trying to figure out what exactly that you want, but you don't really want that shit. What you really want is to connect with your higher self so you can know exactly what you want so you can be bold enough to go get it. However, when it comes to the ego, the opponent, the desire to receive for the self alone is that you do not hate it enough to shatter it. You want to take some of this caterpillar life with you into transformation, but transformation is transformation, almost does not count. You have to be committed to the transformation of connecting to your higher self. And if you haven't done it yet, you probably won't do it. Is to be perpetual in that doing so. Miss Radiant says, thank you so much. Gang Stalking Simulation, thank you for the donation. Revealing my true face, appreciate the donation. Thank you guys. I really do appreciate it. In reference to, I'm glad that this information resonates with you as it resonates with me at the deepest, corest, transformative, at the deepest level I can hardly explain. So our work is not found in getting rid of the ego. We must see our ego. We must see our negativity, because seeing our negativity, noticing our negativity is synonymous with expelling our negativity. When you see yourself at fault, when you see yourself at blame, you cannot live with that. The problem is we never see fault within ourselves. We will argue with our partners till this goddamn vein pop out in the middle of our forehead, as opposed to seeing the negativity within ourselves and getting rid of that, so maybe you could look at the partner in a different light. Because here you are with somebody that gave you the sweet gushy, and now you sitting there arguing with them. That has to be something within yourself that you haven't got rid of. Because ain't nobody going to give you the sweet gushy and hate you at the same time. Have a conversation with you, date you, really like your ass. You know, when you do readings, they be really liking y'all on the first, second, third date. But since that man does not deal with the energy within himself, he then begins to expel that negativity and project his negativity on you. Or vice versa. The way for men and women to get out of this in relationships is to get into the modality of sharing. Getting out of the ego, because essentially sharing is unnatural and is a violation to the ego. It is a complete violation to receiving for the self alone. There are women who would not do anything for a man just as a cold. Like, I would never do nothing for a man. And then on the vice versa is men who would think like that and he'd be called a pimp, but I digress. Becoming like God, one must behave like God. And behaving like God is found in sharing. It is not found in receiving for the self alone. So you might confide in me, and you might think that I'll feed into what your personal reception of what you need is going. I'm not going to speak to that. I'm going to speak to your desire to share. And if you do not have a desire to share, then you are not attempting to tap into your greatest joy or your desire to become like God. The more we share, the closer we get to God. The more uncomfortable we are with sharing, the faster we get there. So I'll give you an example. I started this YouTube page. That is me sharing. Now, I didn't really want to do videos, and I always feel like split about it, right? But having that feeling and saying I'm gonna do it anyway, it was easier for my channel to grow. And I found something that I loved. I found something that I really enjoyed But imagine, like, before anybody doing who never done YouTube before, once you start up a page, you got no subscribers. You got 0 subscribers. You put out a video, it don't get no views. So that's anybody. That's very uncomfortable. But for me, it was the fast track. Because it gave me something to study. It gave me something to learn. It gave me something to understand. It gave me something to focus on. It gave me something to grow. And essentially, it has helped me. But in reference to, I'm not saying YouTube is for everybody, but you need to figure out a modality that you're giving to people. You're not wanting for something in return, but you're doing the thing, you're giving the thing because you love it. And if you're not there yet, then you need to get there, essentially. Because any theology, any type of literature, any type of ideology that's giving you the game and telling you, oh, this is going to be for you and this is going to work for you and you're going to receive for the self alone, they are skimming you and they are scamming you, because they're going to take your money and then you're going to possibly get what you want or not get what you want, but you're not going to be happy. But if you get what you want and you pay for it, you can't even be mad at the person that skimmed you or scammed you, because you got what you want, but you didn't get what you truly desired, which is to get connected to your soul. So how do you get connected to your soul? According to the author, share unreasonably, unexpectedly, when it goes against your nature. So we let go of these physical prisons easily. Share with conscious intent of becoming closer to God, not for positive reinforcements. So when we are sharing, we're not sharing to low-key get something in return, to hope to get something indirectly. We are sharing specifically with the intent to get closer to God, because this is God's nature. Okay? And when do we do this? We do this now. We have to stay present. Okay? If you are talking about what happened yesterday, if you're talking about what possibly could happen in the future, you are not present. And once you are not present, you are out of alignment. So to stay in alignment, seek discomfort to get rid of the ego. This is counterintuitive to anything you ever heard before. This is why you got to read the book and get to the point where I'm at, where I understand it. Because if you're not reading a book and getting the context and getting the build up, then essentially, even if you read the book one time but didn't take notes, or read the fucking audiobook, reading the audiobook is not reading. Reading an audiobook is like driving down the street and imagine you know every goddamn address. Unless you got photographic memory, you wasting your time reading an audiobook. You might as well listen to Future. You'll get more downloads from it. I mean, audiobooks ain't pointless or worthless. I mean, they're good to listen to as you go to sleep, and if you like just driving down the street. Or if you got a photographic memory, you can retain audio, like you got an audiographic memory and things like that. It might be good for you. But in a sense, if you're trying to retain knowledge, you need to get a physical copy of the book and take notes. So how the hell are you going to be holding a tablet on the laptop, taking notes all at the same time? Just get a book and a note bag, sit your ass down, put the electronics down, and take the pen to pad and really retain and grasp information. Because I told you, I'm just skimming the surface of this book. And it might seem like I got a lot of information in reference to the book, but it's more information into it. So it's a whole little ass book with a whole bunch of knowledge. He didn't waste a word. But essentially, you have to understand it. I'm just giving you the motivation, and this is like a light. I'm being light about it. It feels heavy, but I'm light. Seek discomfort, get rid of the ego, confront selfishness, and share now. Don't wait. Don't wait till tomorrow. Do it now. Learn to recognize or hate the ego. Share ridiculously now. Simple things. Then he starts to get into the Zohar. He starts off the Zohar with a little like saying. He has these like things in like italics where he is explaining certain stories and stuff like that. Some of them you might skip, some of them you might read. If I'm reading a nonfiction book, I don't really like reading stories. That's just me. But in this particular story I read, because it was very interesting, this is essentially what I tell people to do all the time when things get tough, but he simplified it and he called it the Kabbalah, right? And I didn't even know that I was telling people to do the Kabbalah, but here it goes. Baal Shem Tov, which is the great rabbi, right, would go to a particular place in the forest, light a fire, and say a special prayer. Then a miracle would occur and the misfortune would be removed. Okay? Why can't you do that? Why can't you go into a forest, light a fire, say a special prayer, and work for miracles? Now, it's countless of people that I've talked to that I know that this shit works. Now, if you don't have a persistent application of doing ritual and magic, then you do not actually know what's going on. You have to be persistent with your practice, and this is how you become like God. Ritual. He also has something in a book. I'm just kind of glimpsing over this, but it's something worth checking out, where he starts talking about the giants who left these portals. Now, the giants that I know are the giants of the mounds who've been found and uncovered, straight up giants, right? That been uncovered at these mounds. So I'm saying that go into these mounds, light a fire, say a special prayer, and watch miracles happen. Y'all know me. That's how I give it up. So if y'all ever got a problem in life, I'm going to say it one more time. Go to a particular place in the forest, light a fire, say a special prayer, wait for a miracle. Live your life. Then he starts to talk about, he doesn't start talking about the Kabbalah, but I inferred that he was talking about the Kabbalah based on my study. And so from the Kabbalah, from what I know, which is kind of abstract, kind of mumbo jumbo mixed around, he had it very simple. It begins with the mountain, Kether. So what is Kether? This is Kether. Kether is signified by the number 1. It ends with the rock. This is the rock. So the rock is Malkuth, and Malkuth is identified by number 10. So 1 and 10. 1 plus 0 is 1, which equals to this top. So the top is equated to the bottom. As above, so below. As within, so without. Rocks are just pieces of a mountain, identical in essence, existing only by virtue of separation. Human beings are pieces of God or the goddess or our ultimate joy, identical in essence, only by virtue of separation. So Malkuth, being you, is separated from Kether, being the top of the pyramid, the top of the mountain. So essentially, would you think it's smart as Malkuth to just go further in the abyss, or would you think it'd be better to go within and rise and raise the Kundalini up to the crown chakra and keep this thing going? Like rocks longing to merge again with the mountain, humans long to return to the God or goddess within. The last chapter, and I'll send you guys home. The ocean of tears for all of the people. And this is a very quick, I'm going to end it on something very quick. I'm not going to get into the last chapter because it's very much of, once you figured it out and understood it, you can't really repeat it, but so much. Even though you need to constantly repeat it within the book, he just kind of, drop some other science, drop some other jewels. But becoming like God demands you to obliterate the separation between Malkuth and Kether. What is your job down here? is to unite Malkuth and Kether, because essentially Malkuth and Kether are the same. The only difference is that they are being separated. Okay? Becoming like God demands you to obliterate this separation. We must become one with the God within. How do we get there? How do we get to a point of sharing? How do we get to a point of removing the desire to receive for the self alone? Well, it's very simple. If you follow my channel, you know I'm very big on this word, compassion. Compassion for life, compassion for everywhere, compassion for everyone. Because there cannot be any spiritual growth without compassion. But what is compassion? Compassion is quite simply suffering with another. It is calm, with, together, empathy, to suffer. So together we suffer, okay? And this is the reality of becoming like God. There is no personal success in becoming like God. You got to understand that. As long as you're sharing, the reason why you're sharing is because you can't become God like yourself, by yourself. If the greatest thing happens to you and you don't share it, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't count. Almost doesn't count. So, great book. I hope y'all read it. I'm just doing my share for the day because that's part of my daily mythos. But this book helped me create and curate my daily mythos. The next book that we will be doing is a short book, but a powerful book. It will be The Science of Being Rich by Wallace D. Wattos. Please join the Mystery School. I got all of the links there. We had a wonderful talk about this book last night. It was profound. We talked for about 2 hours, and man, everybody was just, it was just a wonderful share. I can't wait for everybody else to join and, you know, make this group a wonderful group. So the links are in the description. Thank y'all for watching this video. I'll be uploading a compilation of all of the chapters in one video. Hopefully you are getting closer to the God within, and you are removing the distractions, and you are realizing and prioritizing your divinity. That is my goal. That is my hopes. That is my wishes for putting out this content, is for you personally to get closer to the God and Goddess within. If you do that, please be sure to like this video, share this video, put a comment on this video, help out the algorithms if you would. But with that being said,